A heartwarming tale unfolds when a young Chinese man marries an English wife, only to face the extraordinary surprise of the simultaneous pregnancies of both his wife and his 50-year-old mother-in-law, leading him to dedicate himself to ensuring the safe arrival of mother and daughter's babies. This is a story about profound family love and devotion. Before you dive in, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to us. Picture the Cotswolds, a region in southwest England that looks lifted from a storybook. Ancient honey-colored limestone. Farmhouses dot rolling hills where sheep graze peacefully, and wildflowers burst in vibrant colors each season, painting the meadows in idyllic hues. Among these villages, Byberry is praised as one of England's most beautiful, where the clear River Con winds like a swan's neck, trout gliding beneath storybook stone bridges. Near the famous stone cottages of Arlington Row by the shimmering riverbank stands an old stone house called the Swan's Nest, a historic tea house and residence. Within its walls lives an unusual family, a 26-year-old Chinese son-in-law, his beautiful English blonde wife, and her spirited 50-year-old mother. Together they rely on each other, forming a deeply supportive bond. Their lives are sometimes as changeable as the fleeting Cotswolds mist, but beneath it lies a foundation of unwavering love and cross-cultural understanding, a strong and beautiful stone wall protecting them. Yao Yu, 26, came from a small town in the water-rich region of Jiangnan. His childhood was marked by drifting and loneliness like a fallen leaf on the wind. His parents had died in an accident when he was young, leaving him with only hazy memories. Afterward, he lived with distant relatives, always fearful of becoming a burden. Home remained an aching regret, an unfillable void in his heart. He never showed his sorrow outwardly, bearing life's weight in silence. Zhao Yu was a quiet, sensible child, rarely opening up, moving through a world indifferent and subtly prejudiced, stumbling yet rising each time. He grew resilient, introverted, but within his melancholy eyes burned a longing for a true family, a spark of hope. Despite his hardships, he never succumbed to despair, seeing each trial as a forging of spirit. He worked hard and stayed optimistic, honing his skills in landscape design at university and earning a scholarship, driven by a thirst for the wider world and a wish to change his fate. He applied for a working holiday visa and landed a job as a gardener's assistant at a small hotel in the Cotswolds. In this foreign land, facing strange language and customs, life was harder and lonelier than he had ever imagined. But with his perseverance, positive outlook, and the meticulousness common among East Asians, he advanced step by step toward his dream. Fate's arrangements often arrive without warning. One sunny spring day at Byberry's annual flower festival, Zhao Yu met Sarah, a radiant English girl with dazzling blonde hair and eyes as warm as the Cotswold sunshine, as clear as the River Con. From their first meeting, Sarah was drawn to the quiet warmth and diligence hidden behind his shy exterior. She sympathized deeply with the struggles he faced as a foreigner, feeling his pain as her own. She reached out to him in hesitant Chinese and they became friends. Patiently listening to his imperfect English, she helped him settle in. Zhao Yu was touched by her pure, selfless kindness, slowly shedding the heavy armor around his heart, beginning to trust her. Sarah was like a daffodil blooming in his barren world, melting the ice in his heart. Their love blossomed quickly, easily crossing the boundaries of nationality, language, and culture. With blessings from relatives and friends, they married in a small ancient church in Byberry, pledging their lives to one another. Sarah's mother, Eleanor, was a beautiful, elegant 50-year-old whose grace mirrored the Cotswolds itself. Her husband had died years ago, and she raised Sarah alone while managing the Swan's Nest with determination. At first, she felt confusion about her daughter marrying a much younger foreign man, wondering if Sarah would truly be happy, or if she herself could accept a son-in-law from another culture. But ultimately, seeing Zhao Yu's sincerity and pure love, she chose to trust her daughter's eyes and her own instincts. Having lost her own husband young, she understood Zhao Yu's loneliness in a foreign place. She told him, "From now on, treat me as your mother. Just call me Mom, make this your home and live happily with Sarah." She gently patted his back and served him freshly baked scones with homemade jam and rich clotted cream, satisfying not only his hunger but a lifetime's yearning for family warmth. That evening, Xiao Yu cried for the first time in years, sitting at Eleanor's cozy dinner table, feeling a belonging he'd never known. To him, Eleanor became more than a mother-in-law. She was the mother he never had, a safe haven for his wounded soul. He called her Mom with genuine respect and affection, even if his English stumbled. Eleanor, though not especially expressive, showed her love through each thoughtful action, trusting Xiao Yu even more than her own daughter did at times. After his working holiday visa expired, Xiao Yu chose to stay in the UK, living with Sarah and Eleanor. During the day, he worked in a historic Cotswolds garden, applying Chinese landscape techniques with precision and artistry. In the evenings, he helped Eleanor manage the tea house, leading a fulfilling, busy life. Sarah, using her art background, created pottery and paintings to sell at a local craft studio she set up in the Swan's Nest. Eventually, the three decided to live together long-term at the Swan's Nest, a century-old house built of honey-colored stone, ivy twining gracefully up its walls. Eleanor's flower boxes overflowed with geraniums and pansies. The ground floor housed the cozy tea house and a small shop selling local souvenirs, while the second floor was their warm, cheerful home. The air was always scented with Eleanor's fresh-baked apple pies, Xiao Yu's beloved barley tea, and Sarah's bright laughter. On weekends, they strolled along the River Con or explored nearby villages like Burton-on-the-Water and Chipping-Campden, savoring slow, joyful days. In the evenings, they gathered around the fireplace with steaming mugs of herbal tea or cocoa, sharing stories, dreams, and hopes. In this ordinary yet precious life, Xiao Yu finally found complete happiness and a sense of belonging. No longer a lonely wanderer, he had Sarah, the love of his life, and Eleanor, the only mother he could truly call his own. Together they built a family, a sturdy, warm wall to shelter him from the storms of the world. Every night Xiao Yu prayed devoutly, gazing at the twinkling Cotswold sky, wishing this fragile happiness would last forever. But life, as always, had surprises in store. A turning point was about to arrive, taking them into a new chapter. For 26-year-old Xiao Yu, for Sarah, and for 50-year-old Eleanor, soon to become a grandmother, the future gleamed with hope, as bright as a Cotswold spring. Xiao Yu's gardening skills were winning acclaim, and he planned to start his own small landscaping business. Sarah was preparing to publish an illustrated book from her craft shop. Eleanor continued to pour her heart into the Swan's Nest, supporting them all. Then, one warm spring day, came their first piece of joyous news. Sarah was pregnant. Xiao Yu, Sarah, and Eleanor were over the moon, laughing so much they could barely sleep. They began preparing to welcome the baby. Xiao Yu made a crib from eco-friendly wood. Sarah and Eleanor knitted baby clothes and blankets, devoting themselves to every detail of prenatal care. Eleanor, excited to become a grandmother, sewed baby clothes by hand, showering Sarah with traditional nutritious meals and unconditional love. Her face beamed with joy, as bright as the flowers outside their window. Around that time, however, Eleanor carried a private worry. She had been quietly dating Arthur, a kind and lively 43-year-old veterinarian who ran a respected animal hospital nearby. Widowed some years before, Arthur had been drawn to Eleanor's warm heart, elegance, and humor when he visited the Swan's Nest, and took the initiative to get to know her. Slowly, Eleanor was moved by Arthur's sincerity and gentle, caring nature, a long-buried feeling awakening after many lonely years. Aware of the age gap and community gossip, they kept their relationship discreet, going on walks down quiet lanes or meeting in peaceful restaurants in Cirencester. But a deep comfort and genuine love grew between them. Xiao Yu and Sarah noticed Eleanor's blossoming happiness, but respected her privacy, wishing her the joy she so deserved. They didn't ask many questions, just quietly supported her. They sincerely hoped their mother could end her long loneliness and find a good companion. Then one day Eleanor noticed some unusual changes in her body. She thought she had long passed menopause. But her period stopped, and she experienced changes in appetite and nausea. With a glimmer of hope, she visited an obstetrician in a nearby town there. She received a shocking and unbelievable diagnosis that completely changed her life. She was pregnant. At the age of 50, even as she was about to become a grandmother, she received news of a new life. This was less joy or blessing, than immense confusion and deep fear she could not hide. Her tears as she left the hospital, she didn't know how to accept this ironic and absurd twist of fate, or how to tell her beloved daughter, Sarah's son-in-law Zhao Yu, and her partner Arthur, who were preparing to start a new relationship. Her heart was completely chaotic, plunged into a deep dark vortex. In particular, her very conservative and image-conscious sister Penelope lived in London. Eleanor worried that if her sister knew about this, she would surely receive harsh criticism and condemnation. In the past, her sister had hinted indirectly that Eleanor shouldn't remarry after her husband's death, and often mentioned the family's reputation. Eleanor spent countless sleepless nights agonizing. The new life growing inside of her was indeed mysterious and beautiful, but the barriers of reality seemed so tall and cold. She was afraid of whether she could healthfully carry and raise a child at the age of 50, worried about the strange looks and whispers of the small-town residents, and even more afraid that this would bring more trouble and burden to her already pregnant daughter Sarah and kind son-in-law Zhao. Youth's deep sense of guilt kept her awake night after night. She dared not tell Zhao Yu and Sarah about it, enduring the pain alone. As days of loss of appetite and insomnia passed, her face became visibly haggarded and her eyes filled with sorrow. She secretly thought that this new life might not be a blessing, but an unbearable burden, and even considered abortion. Only her old friend Margaret knew her secret. Margaret ran an antique shop in Bibury and sympathized with and comforted Eleanor, but this still couldn't alleviate her deep suffering. Margaret told Eleanor, It's not your fault, but you really need to think carefully about what to do." She offered practical advice and expressed respect for her choice. Zhao Yu had been quietly observing his mother-in-law and couldn't possibly have missed her rapid changes and deep distress. He noticed his mother-in-law hadn't even touched her usual favorite Earl Grey tea and scones, and that she was always tossing and turning at night, sighing deeply. He instinctively realized that something significant was troubling her. One evening, he gently knocked on his mother-in-law's door and entered her room. He closed the tea-house door and brought a cup of warm milk. Then he quietly sat beside her and asked in the world's gentlest and most caring voice, "Mom, are you not feeling well? You look very unwell. I'm worried you haven't seemed to have eaten or slept properly for several days. If I've done something to upset you, please forgive me." Or has Aunt Penelope visited again and said something unpleasant? His voice was filled with sincere concern and deep affection for his mother-in-law. At first, Eleanor pretended nothing was wrong, saying she was just getting old and lacked energy. But under the deep, warm, and steady gaze of her son-in-law, she could no longer hide her emotions, and tears streamed down her face. She sobbed like a child, and with a voice full of apology she spoke with difficulty. "You, my child, I don't know what expression to use to tell you this. This poor mother of yours is pregnant at this age." Her voice choked and trembled as if wanting to sink into the ground. Her head bowed low like someone who had committed a crime, not daring to look up. When Zhao Yu heard this shocking confession, he felt a strong impact, as if time had stood still and his entire body stiffened. His mother-in-law, whom he regarded as a mother, was pregnant. This was something he had never imagined or expected. For a moment he couldn't say anything, couldn't think of anything. He stared blankly at his mother-in-law's trembling back, a deep confusion and indescribable emotion engulfing him. Countless thoughts raced through his mind: his pregnant wife Sarah and his child who was about to be born. How would his mother-in-law accept all this? But deep within him, the initial shock and awkwardness quickly transformed into another strong and burning emotion, a compassion for his mother-like figure who had taken him in and raised him like her own son, and a sense of responsibility engraved in his marrow like steel that he must protect his family, regardless of any trials or hardships. In this bizarre and absurd turn of fate, in this complex and desperate tinting of emotions, Perhaps a ray of hope for a new life could be found. Hecatli stood up, walked over to his crying mother-in-law, and boldly embraced her thin and trembling shoulders with his broad and warm arms. Holding her tightly, after a while he firmly held his mother-in-law's trembling hand with his rough but more trustworthy hands than anyone else in the world, and said, in a voice more determined and sincere than any son in the world, "Mom, your heart must be very bitter, hasn't it? You must have spent countless sleepless nights with this heavy and startling secret, haven't you? But Mom, please look into my eyes. This is absolutely nothing for you to feel ashamed or guilty about. On the contrary, this might be the last bit of hope God has given our family in this dark and desperate moment, at this joyous time when Sarah and I are about to become parents. Mom, you too are pregnant with a new life. Isn't this a greater blessing and joy for our families? Two children can grow up together, support each other, and become each other's strength." He paused, gasping with a hoarse voice, and continued, looking at his mother-in-law with a more profound, sincere, and determined gaze. "Mom, please trust me. Although you don't share a single drop of blood with me, you are the mother I cherish and respect the most in this world. I will take responsibility, and with all the strength I have left hand, everything I own, for the rest of my life, I will protect you and your unborn child. So please stop worrying. As for the prejudiced eyes of the world or practical problems like financial difficulties that may arise before us, I will do my best to face them head on. Mom, you just need to relax, take good care of yourself, and welcome the new life in the most comfortable and happiest state. I swear to you, I will be your most reliable son, your most solid backing. No one dares to harm you. So please promise me that you will overcome all this with me, and that you will never give up hope." Zhao Yu's heartfelt words and his firm oath to heaven powerfully touched and comforted Eleanor's heart, which had lost its direction and was struggling in the ocean of despair and guilt. She once again deeply realized how great and strong her son-in-law was, how he could understand her in any situation and stand firmly by her. Sadesh buried her face in her son-in-law's broad and warm embrace and cried like Akil, but those were no longer tears of despair, sadness, or self-blame, but tears filled with gratitude, trust, and reliance on her son-in-law. At that moment they were not just mother-in-law and son-in-law, but had established a new type of mother-son relationship, willing to embrace and bear each other's deepest pains and withstand waves of fate together. From that day on, Zhao Yu became like a sturdy bridge connecting Eleanor, Arthur, and Sarah, maintaining the harmony of the family. First met Arthur alone, offering him sincere congratulations and support, and promising to work together in the future to protect Eleanor and the child. Arthur was also deeply moved by Zhao Yu's magnanimity and sense of responsibility, and firmly shook his hand. He pledged his unwavering love and responsibility for Eleanor and the child, and expressed his heartfelt gratitude to Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu cautiously revealed everything to Sarah initially. Sarah was also very shocked and confused, but she gradually accepted the reality thanks to her husband's sincere persuasion and his deep love for her mother. She decided to support her mother's decision, accompanied her mother by baby supplies, and made nutritious prenatal food, fostering an even more special and intimate mother-daughter relationship than ever before. However, as expected, the shadow of jealousy of their happiness loomed. Eleanor's sister, Penelope, Zara's aunt, heard the news and immediately rushed from London to Bibury, fiercely criticizing her sister with all sorts of malicious words. "Eleanor, you are absolutely crazy. Having a child at this age is a disgrace to the family. And who is that guy, Arthur? I'm sure he's only after your money. Stop the pregnancy immediately and break up with that guy. Otherwise, I won't let you off this house and tea house were originally our parents' inheritance, and I have a right to inherit them too." She was selfish and ruthless, thinking only of her own reputation and greed, disregarding her sister's health and happiness. Zhao Yu could no longer bear it. He stood in front of Penelope, preventing her from harming his mother-in-law and wife. "Aunt, please don't talk nonsense. I will take full responsibility and protect Mom and the child. Mom's life and happiness are hers to decide. Please stop disturbing our family if you continue to threaten her. Harris, Mom, I will not stand by idly." Penelope was taken back by his calm yet firm and powerful demeanor, but she still cursed viciously and threatened not to let them off her appearance signal effort. The family would face another trial and conflict. She spread rumors about Eleanor to Theald residents of Bribery, trying to isolate them socially and even harass them by anonymously complaining to the authorities about the hygiene and operational issues of Eleanor's tea house. The Swan's Nest. Meanwhile, Zhao Yu had to be stronger and wiser than ever before he took on double, even triple responsibility, not only caring for his pregnant wife Sarah, but also meticulously looking after his mother-in-law, Eleanor, who was suffering from morning sickness, health issues, and external pressure every day. Carefully checked Eleanor's health as if it were his own body, even reading medical books and the latest papers all night to prepare for various risks that might arise from a 50-year-old pregnancy. Based on this knowledge, he began to help his mother-in-law with diet management, preparing low-sodium, high-protein recipes to prevent preeclampsia and encouraging her to do moderate exercise, walks in the Cotswolds fields or gardening, ensuring sufficient rest and psychological stability. Just like a professional health consultant, he handled all the heavy work at home, even including the operation of the Swan's Nest tea house to alleviate his mother-in-law's stress. His friends Margaret and Arthur also provided a lot of help. He also voluntarily became a strong windbreak, thoroughly protecting Eleanor from Aunt Penelope and the negative gazes and words of those around them. His life was so busy and difficult that 24 hours were not enough, but there was no sign of fatigue or resentment on his face. Instead, he always tried to show an optimistic side to his mother-in-law and wife in his heart. Only one belief was deeply rooted: if I waver, everything will collapse. If I stand firm, I can protect Mom Sarah and the 2 children who are about to be born. His spirit of selfless dedication touched a retired Korean businessman living in London who had been quietly supporting the welfare home. Zhao Yu came from deeply moved by Zhao Yu's story. He anonymously sent a considerable donation to support Zhao Yu's struggle. This donation greatly helped with the rebuilding of the Swan's Nest, which had temporarily fallen into difficulties due to Aunt Penelope Sabat. Time like flowing water quietly flowed over the rolling hills of the Cotswolds. Sarah's and Eleanor's bellies grew larger like abundant fruits in the autumn fields. 2 pregnant women living under the same roof might seem strange and awkward to others, but for their family it was a precious and special experience. Of course, Sarah's and Eleanor's pregnancies were not without complications. Sarah's pregnancy was relatively healthy, but 50-year-old Eleanor faced risks at all times. She was at risk of severe morning sickness, high blood pressure, and gestational diabetes. Her doctor, Emily Carter, carefully monitored her condition, feeling as if she was walking on thin ice every day. She told Eleanor, "Considering your age and health condition, continuing the pregnancy may be a very risky decision. However, if you and your family are determined, I will do my best to help you." She provided cautious but warm support. Zhao Yu poured all his energy into the 2 pregnant women. Every morning he woke up early and prepared special nutritious meals for them according to their tastes and health conditions. During the day he took turns accompanying his wife and mother-in-law to the hospital for routine checkups. He also made Eleanor's favorite English afternoon tea snacks and brought them to her, and for Sarah he made delicious soup with anchovies brought from China. In the evenings he returned home with a tired body, did piles of housework, and listened to his wife and mother-in-law, comforting their anxious hearts. He paid special attention to his mother-in-law's health. He prevented her from any negative news, especially Aunt Penelope's continuous harassment, kept her free from any stress, and helped her maintain psychological stability by playing her favorite gentle classical music or taking walks together along Beer's beautiful river Colne. He also worked closely with Arthur, making every effort to create the best environment for his mother-in-law. Arthur also stayed by Eleanor's side constantly, providing her strength while juggling his work at the animal hospital. He became a valuable companion for Zhao Yu, someone he could confide in. Sometimes Arthur would also use his veterinary knowledge to check Eleanor's health and provided Zhao Yu with wisdom about Cotswolds' rural life, helping him better adapt to the unfamiliar environment. Despite their best efforts, a crisis suddenly struck without warning. Just 1 month before the due date, Eleanor suddenly began experiencing severe abdominal pain and bleeding. Zhao Yu quickly carried his mother-in-law into the car and rushed to the emergency room of a general hospital. In nearby Cullinan, Arthur and Sarah also followed, their faces pale. The examination result showed that Eleanor had placental abruption, and the situation was extremely critical. The doctor's words were like a bolt from the blue, plunging Zhao Yu, Arthur, and Sarah into despair. Both mother and child could be in danger. Eleanor's face was pale, and she held the hands of her son-in-law daughter and partner in turn, saying with tears, I was recklessly greedy, even endangering this child. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. She trembled with self-blame and fear just then. Zhao Yu firmly held his mother-in-law's hand and said in a resolute voice, Mom, never say to shortened words. You are the strongest person in this world, aren't you? And this child will also have strong vitality and will surely be as strong as you. We Ariel here, no matter what happens, we will protect you and the baby, so please. Don't give up hope, trust us. At his earnest plea, Eleanor nodded slightly as if gaining strength again. The attending physician, Dr. Emily Carter, also worked closely with the medical staff at Cheltenham Hospital, doing her best to prepare for the emergency surgery. After several hours of difficult resuscitation, a weak but healthy baby girl was finally born into the world through a cesarean section. Emitting her first cry, her mother Eleanor, after experiencing a dangerous moment, miraculously stabilized at that moment. Zhao Yu, Arthur, and Sarah, who had been anxiously waiting outside of the operating room door, hugged each other, tightly weeping with joy. Those were tears intertwined with joy, relief, and gratitude, tears that could not be described with any words. A few days later, Eleanor and her daughter were discharged safely and returned home. The child's name was Chunshi. This was a name jointly decided by Zhao Yu, Sarah, Eleanor, and Arthur, hoping that this child could bring new hope and a new beginning to the family. Like the first ray of sunlight welcoming the dawn in darkness, the family completely revolved around Chunshi Bezides, preparing for his own child who was about to be born. Zhao Yu had to be even busier preparing for the arrival of Twababis. He was determined to give his all to ensure both his mother-in-law and wife, Sarah, had healthy delivery. Estimas, a respected elderly resident of the village, congratulated them on Chunshi's birth and gave her a small wooden cradle he had made himself, saying, Today a special dawn has arrived in this home. I sincerely hope this child can grow up strong like the Cotswold sunshine. His sincere blessing became an opportunity to melt the indifferent gazes of the villagers. Finally, Sarah, after experiencing the pain of labor, also gave birth to a healthy son. Only 10 days had passed since Eleanor's daughter Chun-Shi was born. Miracle of two infants being born almost simultaneously under the same roof shocked and brought blessings from family and those around them. Zhao Yu was immersed in a deep sense of happiness. As if in an instant he had forgotten all the past hardships and pains, absorbed in loud cries of the two children, and the happy smiles of the two mothers. Tears streamed down his face without him realizing it, and those were not tears of sadness but tears of gratitude and emotion for finally encountering this dazzling happiness after overcoming all trials. Although Aunt Penelope still watched with a cold eye, nothing could stop their happiness now. The new lives blossoming in the two small cradles, with most wonderful songs echoing through the Cotswolds hills. The swan's nest with two small cradles almost simultaneously under the same roof was filled with laughter and joy, warmer and more fulfilling than ever. Before Zhao Yu began to replan his landscape a seasoness, he temporarily put it aside during the day and worked from home in his spare time. In the evenings, he changed diapers for the two babies, fed them, and tried his best to help his wife, Sarah, and mother-in-law Eleanor with postpartum care. He was incredibly busy every day, but his heart was richer and happier than anyone else in the world whenever he held the two children in turn singing lullabies in his not-so-fluent Chinese and English. He could feel the happiness of the family he had longed for. His tearful dedication embodied a deep and broad magnanimity in the extreme situation of having to simultaneously care for two mothers and two newborns. He did not lose his smile and embraced everything with love. Sarah gave birth to a healthy son, illumining elegant universe, symbolizing the blue skies and vast fields of the Cotswolds. She shared a deeper and more intimate mother-daughter bond with her mother than ever before, caring for each other's children. Together she understood her mother better than anyone, and in becoming a mother almost at the same time as her, she became her mother's strong support. Together they bathed their children, made baby food, and took turns comforting the babies crying all night, creating special memories and bonds that would last. A lifetime Eleanor also burned with tearful maternal love, holding her precious daughter, Chen Shi, whom she had only in her later years in her arms under the meticulous care of her son-in-law, Yao Yu, and partner Arthur. Her physical and mental health quickly recovered, and she excellently fulfilled her dual roles as grandmother and mother of two children, more youthful and vibrant than ever before. The shadows and sadness of the past were no longer found on her face. Instead, there was anticipation, excitement, and gratitude for the new future she was about to create with her two daughters, son-in-law, and her two cherished grandchildren. She created a small play area for the babies in a corner of these one's nest tea house, which quickly became a gathering place for children and mothers in the village. Arthur stood silently by Eleanor's side, giving her the greatest support and comfort while doing his work at the animal hospital. He helped with housework and cared for Chen Shi, playing the role of a true father. He changed her diapers with clumsy hands and held Chen Shi at night to let Eleanor rest. His unwavering love and dedication were the greatest motivation for Eleanor to overcome all past pains and bloom happily again. His warm and trustworthy demeanor left a good impression on guests visiting the Swan's Nest and the villagers. Their special and beautiful family story resonated deeply and offered quiet encouragement throughout the Cotswolds region. In particular, Eleanor's old friend Margaret sincerely blessed their relationship and the family's future, saying, "I think Eleanor has finally found true happiness. No, I'm so glad you met such a good person like Arthur, and I hope the two of you, Zhao Yu and Sarah, and two babies will live happily ever after." She expressed her support. Eleanor's sister Penelope still watched with cold eyes, but nothing could shake their solid happiness. Thomas, a respected elder in the village, publicly supported them, and his words were an excellent opportunity to touch the hearts of the villagers. Time, like the water of the river, flowed slowly. The two babies grew healthily and welcomed their first birthdays. All family members, neighbors, and friends gathered to hold a simple yet warm party to celebrate the two children's first birthdays at the special first birthday banquet, which blended British and Chinese cultures. The two babies received blessings and love from everyone, smiling happily as the Waju first birthday grasping ceremony began. Everyone's eyes were focused on the two babies. Sarah's son Nu simultaneously grasped a small sapling shovel prepared by his father Zhao Yuan, a beautiful teacup prepared by his grandmother Eleanor's daughter Chen. She grasped a small animal figurine prepared by her father Arthur and her mother's old fountain. Penevirine burst into laughter, accompanied by warm applause, sincerely wishing Thetwo children would utilize their talents to create a bright and hopeful future. Xiaoyu lifted the two children in turn, pressing his cheek against their chubby little faces. At that moment he deeply felt a sense of happiness that surged from the depths of his heart. Family is not limited by blood, age, or national identifiers. It is completed by laughing and crying together and being willing to let one's entire life permeate into the lives of others. Although blood is thicker than water, sometimes the love and understanding between people and the years spent overcoming adversity together can create a bond that is stronger, more sincere, and more beautiful than any blood relationship. Learned and proved this through his own life. That evening, the six family members sat side by side in the cozy living room of the Swan's Nest by the fireplace, looking up at the countless stars that beautifully adorned the Cotswolds night sky. Eleanor held her sleeping little daughter Chen Shi comfortably on her lap, held the hand of her son-in-law Zhao Yu sitting next to her, and said in a low voice but with deep gratitude, "Zhao Yu, the stars in the sky tonight seem particularly bright. They seem to be illuminating our future and blessing us, aren't they? Thanks to you, Sarah, and I and our two babies can live and smile like this again. Thank you so much for coming into our family and becoming my son. You are the greatest and most precious gift I have received." Zhao Yu squeezed his mother's rough Honda's eyes, red-rimmed. "No, Mom, thanks to you, Sarah, and the two children, I finally understood what true family and what love is. I am even more grateful to we in the future. The six of us will cherish and love each other even more. We will shine and live happily together like festers in the night sky." Sarah and Arthur nodded silently, holding each other's hands, expressing their agreement under the unique night sky of the Cotswolds. Their hearts shone warmly like beautiful constellations in the Cotswolds village of Bibury. By the picturesque Swan's Nest Tea House on the river, call a story of love that transcends borders, generations, and all prejudices continues to linger like. Pfeffergrant Tea. This is a deeply moving story about a young man from China, will through countless trials and hardships, always upheld a noble and selfless love for his family, and an epic story of a special extended family overcoming everything united. By love, they support each other, standing firm like the sturdy stone walls of the Cotswolds, and their shared lives will once again make us deeply reflect on the true meaning and value of home. This warm and touching story will forever be etched in our hearts. Thank you for watching today.